All right, take two. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ironside Sheets. Today I will be talking about The Lost Queen by Signe Pike. So, I'm going to be talking about the characters, the plot, and issues I have with the book. If you have any problems with spoilers, I'm going to be talking about major and minor plot points throughout the book. So, I highly suggest, if you do not like spoilers, to sign off of this, click off of this page now, this video, go read it. Then why don't you come back and watch it? If you don't care, or you don't think you have any particular interest, or you want to know how the book goes before you read it, then by all means watch and hopefully enjoy. So, what do I have to say about this book? Well, I like it quite a bit. It's it's one of those, and this is where I start off with the issues. It is one of those rare books where you'll read the first 100 pages, you'll be like, wow, a lot has happened in the first 100 pages of this book. And then you think about it and you're like, wow, nothing has happened in the first 100 pages of this book. The issues I have here are, well, yes, quite a bit happens in terms of drama and a little bit of policy, relationships. Langorith, the main character, is daughter to a petty king, Morkan, if I'm not mistaken, and she doesn't want the queen life that's ahead of her. She wants to be like her mother was. She wants to be a wisdom keeper and a healer. She wants to have the freedom to move from place to place as she pleases. Though she realizes quite quickly that she does not have the gift, but her brother does. And that leaves her to just sit and wait to be married off. And she hates it and hates it and hates it. And she wishes to fight this fate that she has in store for her. And so after an incident, her father eventually gives her a knife, and this knife is her saving grace. It's her attempt, or it's her an ability to, it's an opportunity to attempt to become a warrior. And so she goes and pesters her cousins, just train with them, and of course they're actually quite willing. They're surprisingly progressive, and they're like, "Yeah, you've had the spirit to do it. Let's see how you do." And so they teach her how to fight, and she trains and trains, and she does very well. She's able to go on for long periods because of her sheer motivation to become a warrior, and it's quite impressive. As time moves forward, she she has issues with her upcoming role as a princess. She she goes to the capital of the kingdoms that they have there, and she has an incident. Well, one of her servants has an incident with one of the princes of another land, and in doing so, she causes some issue for them. They pay up the issue, and they try to well, the older of the two tries to sweep it under the rug, and for the most part, it works. Langorith grows up, and she doesn't want to go back to the capital. Not after what happened to her servant. So while her father goes off, she stays home. Now, with that servant, and we're going to backtrack a little bit here. She meets that servant from another kingdom. The kingdom has been taken over, and refugees come pouring out into her kingdom while her father is away. There she meets a wisdom keeper by the name of Ariane. Ariane comes off as very arrogant at the beginning. Langorith hates her and despises her, but she has to begrudgingly respect Ariane for the simple fact that her knowledge far outclasses hers. So Ariane's knowledge far outclasses Langorith's, and Langorith can't stand it, but she sees it as an opportunity to not only learn how to be a wisdom keeper, or learn about wisdom keepers from a wisdom keeper, but to also learn how to be a healer like her mother was. Her mother was both a wisdom keeper and a healer, and her father married her because of her abilities, and it provided he found interest in her, and they married. Problem is that Morgan's wife, the wisdom keeper, died not long after they had Lilokin, and Langorith, who are twins. They about 9 years apart or so. We were quite young when she passes, and and they have no other children. So Langorith is destined, fated to marry someone else, to be married off for the sake of a political alliance. Ariane says, "Well, we may not be able to fight it, but in the meantime, I can teach you all that I can about being a wisdom keeper, and at least you'll be something like your mother." Langorith accepts. So Ariane tells Langorith at some point that, look, when you grow up and you become queen to some king or prince, or you become prince or princess to some king or prince, you may not be in charge. You may not have the throne. But if you start now looking at how the people, looking at the people's issues and helping them with their problems, they will look to you for help, not the king. And you will have far greater influence to protect your people than you ever would have as a warrior. So Langorith, again, begrudgingly, because she wants the freedom instead of the responsibility of being a princess or queen, she begrudgingly accepts the advice and starts listening to her people. And while her father is away, she builds up a reputation with the common folk. Now, her father realizes that she's getting older and she needs to start meeting other princes and kings so that she may be married off. And while he doesn't approve of it, he doesn't like it, he knows it must happen in order to form an alliance. It's how it's been, it's how it's always been, and as far as he can see, it is how it will always be. So he takes her to the capital, despite everything despite her many attempts to get out of it. While she's at the capital, she meets one of her old servants, the one who had the incident far way back when, and she enlists her in spreading lies about her. She enlists Desdemona, her servant, in spreading lies about her, Langorith, and the reason is because she doesn't want to be married off. So she makes herself sound disgusting and putrid and something that no man would ever want. And Ariane grabs her out after several days of the rumors being spread and pulls her off to the side and says, "Look what you have done. Do you understand how much you have just messed up? You could have had such a great life, and hopefully you still will, but you could have had such a great life. You're beautiful, you're intelligent. You could have had a great life as the king, as the wife of a king, a high king or a petty king, good man. But the way you have portrayed yourself, you are sending yourself down the path of rape and subjugation, because no one will care what happens to you because of the reputation you have." Langorith doesn't realize that's what could have happened, and she feels ashamed. And so Ariane says, "Look, here's the thing. We have an opportunity for you. We met with you were summoned to meet the High King's son." And she says, "Look, you will never be able to protect your people any more than by being his wife. Because not only have you solidified a bond between your two peoples, you are in the High King's court. You will have, if you work hard enough, if you learn their ways, you will have their ears." This is where Langorith grows up a little bit. I like her character development between this part, because so she starts off as a child fighting fate. She wants to be a warrior. She doesn't want any of the responsibility of being a queen. She wants the freedom. And then she suddenly realizes, no, I'm getting older, and this fate is still in front of me. Not long after that, she starts becoming a woman. She goes through puberty, or starts puberty, and then she meets a warrior from the dragon army, and she has or he has her love struck, and vice versa. And they have this whole little ritual where Ariane shows her the pains of being a woman, but how you can also be very amazing as you're growing up to be a woman. And they have their her and the warrior have this little intimate dance in the ceremony, and now she's being thrown at the High King's prince, uh, the High King's son. But she takes it because she knows it's part of her duty to her people, and she succeeds in winning over his heart. But Malgwen, the warrior, still has her heart. No matter how much the High King's son tries, he cannot win Langworth over entirely. Langworth escapes once to help her brother, and she tries to escape a second time. The second time was because right after she is married to the king's son, she is with child, and the wisdom keeper that has been the advisor for her father for many years tells her of death and destruction with her son at the center of it all. And he says, unless he can be born under the care of wisdom keepers, in that case, there may be hope for him yet. The plan fails. She doesn't get to go anywhere. And her husband comes in after she tried to escape. And he's like, why? Why did you try to escape? And they have a conversation. And he says, and she ends up bringing up love. And he says, do you not think I love you? I I shower you with all the gifts and all the things I can possibly do. I am not made of your passions. I do not show my love and affection the same way you do. But I love you like I've never loved anything else. And she's surprised and she is dumbfounded at the fact that she's been so pigheaded and that she couldn't see that despite all his despite the fact that he has kept her at arm's length or has seemingly kept her at arm's length, he has loved her through it all. And so she kind of gives into him and into the relationship because she too has feelings for him. She's been with him. Of course, they've made love or mated, however you want to put it at this point. They've been together for quite some time, for months. And so she gives into it and she accepts it. But he still hasn't won her heart. 17 years she has not seen Malgwen, but for 17 years she has sent messages to him with no response. She is learning from the High Queen on how to become a woman of the court. She has grown up quite a bit, birthed more children from her husband, and yet through it all, she still wishes for Malgwen to show up. And sure enough, he does. She's pissed. She doesn't want him around because, hey, he hasn't responded to me. She's been sending messages through her brother, and he has not responded. Why? Well, he did it for her own protection, or so he says, and you come to believe him. But he still loves her. He's passionate about her. He sees her and he is dumbfounded. He's never been with another woman besides her because that first child that she had was his. So you see Langworth grow from a girl who doesn't want to have anything to do with the queen life and wants to be a warrior to someone who has fallen in love with a warrior when she meets Malgwen for the first time. Then she becomes a woman of the court and a princess to the High King. She's growing up, seeing her responsibilities. But through it all, she's still that passionate teenager and hasn't grown up in that regard. She makes love with Malgwen again, despite being the queen, taking over her father's kingdom, so being both a queen and a princess in her own right. And on top of that, she is sitting there hoping that her husband will start to help her cousin who has taken over the dragon army in order to make sure that they do not get wiped off the map. Not only this, she relinquishes her daughter to her brother so that he may train he may train her in the art of being a wisdom keeper because she has the gift. And soon after, her son rides off into battle. And now we see her as the mother with a broken heart. That's Langorith, and not many of the characters develop around her. Very few change. The only other one that changes at all is Lilokin, but he changes very abruptly. When he does, he goes from a very arrogant child who is becoming a warrior and a wisdom keeper, and rightfully so. He should be arrogant. He is labeled handsome, he's strong, he is intelligent and wise, though inexperienced. Then on top of that, he becomes a wounded animal after he's injured. Before the first time Langorith escapes to go help him, he's injured. His ego is hurt. He doesn't want to do anything or be with anyone. But they force him out of his shell, and he goes to finish off his training. And as a trained wisdom keeper, he's calm, he's collected, and not only is he wise, he's experienced. Not only is he wise, he's experienced. So character development is focused entirely on Langorith, and I think it works. Now, the plot again is very interesting because first 100 pages, you read it, a lot happens because it's a lot of small things. There's a religious war building up in the background, but not a lot happens because not a lot goes on anywhere. No one goes anywhere to do anything, or not, at least not a lot. And so you're like, wow, a lot happens, but almost nothing happens. But the plot progresses around Langorith. You see how she affects the world a little, and you see how the world affects her quite a bit. I have no problems with the plot. Like I said, the only real issue I had was that it's very slow paced. Now, another issue I had was I got through the majority of the book, and then I looked at the back and it said the first book in the Lost Queen trilogy, and that really ticked me off. And what ticked me off more was that it's the only one released, so now I have to wait. But other than that, great book. I highly recommend it. Now, thanks for watching, or more listening. I do run the Ironside Sheets website, like I said, and I don't just do book reviews. I have several works published. You can listen to the other one, which one I've posted here. It is called Ruination, or you can listen to another short story that I have called Legend of the Sun. You can also listen to The Man Who Outran the Country, Antagonist. Though Antagonist was an experiment, so do take that, my attempt there, with a grain of salt, or at least a better perspective. Now, I do have an Instagram account at Ironside Sheets. If you like any of my stuff and you want to follow me and see what's going on, go to my Instagram account. If you want to see what other stuff I've made, go ahead and go to my website. I appreciate every view. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Have a good day.